Greetings, good morning, and welcome to Mind the Moment. This, my friends, is our coffee house in the cloud, a place for us to gather together, build community, get centered, and do everything we can with this present moment. It is July 21st, 2020, which just so happens to be the birthday of Ernest Hemingway, born in 1899, died in 1961. In a 1935 piece for Esquire magazine, Hemingway offered some advice for writers, which I think holds up quite well as advice for mindfulness practitioners as well. He wrote, quote, "When people talk, listen completely. Don't be thinking what you're going to say. Most people never listen, nor do they observe. You should be able to go into a room, and when you come out, know everything that you saw there. And not only that, if that room gave you any feeling, you should know exactly what it was that gave you that feeling. Try that for practice. There are 1,000 ways to practice, and always think of other people," end quote. Happy birthday, Ernest Hemingway. May we all feel impelled today to practice establishing a sense of the scenes unfolding before us or around us with our faculties fully engaged. I am John Roberts from Harvard Pilgrim Health Care's Mindfulness program, and I'm getting a real good feeling about being virtually connected in this space today with Shanti Douglas, founder of 8 Limbs Holistic Health in Concord, New Hampshire, and author of Everyday Ease, Mindfully Moving from Burnout to Balance, which we'll be talking a bit about later. Good morning to you, Shanti.
Good morning, John. Really happy to be here and happy to be with everybody that's taken the time. In this morning, it's a beautiful day. It's really a beautiful day. The sun is shining and there's a slight breeze, and yeah, I'm excited.
That is fantastic positivity. So on that note, in just one moment, I will ask Shanti to lead us into a 10-minute guided meditation, which I can only imagine will be equally energizing. Following that, we'll do some Q&A together and then wrap things up just around 9 a.m. Now, if you haven't already seen, at the bottom of your screen, there is the option to open up a chat box. Please use that chat box to type in any questions or comments that you might have. We'd love to hear what's on your mind this morning. Shanti, is there anything that you'd like to ask the folks at home to comment on as we're getting started today?
Yeah, you know what? I am all about self-care. It is so important, and I'd love to know what people are planning to do today, maybe even right after this, for self-care, something that feels nourishing or relaxing, and it doesn't need to take a long time. Maybe it's just a 5-minute thing or 2 minutes. So right. What are some of those self-care activities you might offer yourself?
Very good. All right. So while folks are typing that in, a big thank you to everyone for taking the time to be with us and each other this morning. Do keep in mind that only Shanti and I will be able to see anything that you type. And if we don't read your particular question or comment out loud, please know that we do read and appreciate them all. Before we close, I will point out some other ways that you can keep in touch with us as well. So here's what is coming into the chat box. Somebody says, just went for an early morning walk before the heat sets in. I did that same thing. Yeah, that was nice. Dinner with my sister, who I only see once every few months. Very beautiful. Somebody says lunchtime walk is what they'll be doing. Coffee break with a coworker virtually. Somebody else says they went for a walk this morning, got their steps in. Yes, walking. That's a big one. That's best. I am finding too that, like, especially on very hot days like this, there's a magic hour where you can sort of get that exercise in before the oppression kind of pushes down. Shanti, can I ask you what you'll be doing today for self-care?
Well, I already took my walk. Again, there's that. And I have a really wonderful practice of making sure that I take breaks quite frequently through the day. I work with my ultradian rhythm. So typically every hour to 90 minutes, taking 15 to 20 minute break to get outside, especially now that we're working at home, get in the garden, just go on the back porch, or later in the afternoon when it gets really hot, I may just lay down underneath a fan. That's really nourishing too. And just, relax.
Oh, that's very nice. All right, well, so on that, Shanti, I may just turn it back to you to take us into the meditation.
Great, wonderful. So, as I'm sure many of you have had your plans switched, your vacation plans switched this year. I know for myself, I was my big trip that I've been waiting to do for years. I had to, it was canceled. I was going to Lake McDonald in Montana, which is a glacier lake. And if anybody knows me, they know that I love rocks. I collect heart rocks. And this lake has amazing, at least from the pictures, because I haven't been there yet, amazing rocks all through it that are multicolored. So I had my big backpack plan to bring home a bunch of rocks. Hopefully I'll get to do that next year. But you know what? I don't really need to wait until next year to do that. So I'm going to bring something like that into our meditation. So I'm going to invite everyone to get comfortable in your seat right now. And if you need to take 10 or 15 minutes just to stretch your body, to open it up, loosen it up. If you didn't get your walk in this morning, maybe your body's a little bit tight. Take a nice big deep breath. Let that breath out. And I'm also going to invite you to close your eyes, although if you prefer to create a soft haze gaze, that's perfectly fine as well. Whatever feels right for you. I think meditation is really important to be comfortable in all of your senses. And let's just begin with connecting to our body, to our breath as it's coming in and out. And maybe slowing that breath down a little so that our senses also slow down a little. And today we're going to be practicing with what I call a rock meditation, where we can bring in the energy of being a rock. And a rock is solid, it's stable, it's really grounded. You know, we're going through challenging times right now in our world, in our society, in our togetherness. And I think we're all trying to find our ground, our place where it feels supportive and nourishing, where we can feel safe and comfortable. So for a moment, bring in a place in your mind's eye, one of your favorite places that feels really nourishing, whether it's on the side of a lake overlooking a mountain, by a stream flowing with cool, refreshing water, by the ocean side, in your backyard, or even a path in nature, on a walking path. And imagine yourself being there right now as a rock, sitting, being quiet, grounded. And there's a steadiness to you. And being this rock doesn't necessarily mean that we're heavy. We can actually be light. We are already supported by the earth. And as a rock, we're quiet. we're also observant and watchful of everything that's around us. The trees, the birds, the water, the insects. Nature in its many different forms. And as we sit and allow ourselves to be this rock, the turbulence of life around us just is. The ever-changing conditions around us just are. And we gravitate towards our energy of deep presence, of being right here in the midst of whatever our life is like in this moment, wherever our place is. As sounds come in, or sights come into our senses, we're simply the observer, simply noticing. We're not attaching to anything. And maintaining that base of presence for ourselves. The condition of being right here. As a rock, we don't need to move to change our situation for us to experience life. We can simply be right here and fully experience life. Fully experience the changing conditions, the changing sights and sounds. As a rock, we're completely in the present moment, every moment. So, what are you noticing in your rock space right now? What are you noticing about the outside world? The sounds that might be coming in from outdoors or indoors. The information that's flowing in. Even if that information is flowing in from your mind, your body, your own experience of this moment. As that rock gently placed on the earth, there's a deeper connection with our presence of ourselves. We might feel turbulent sometimes. Coming into our deep connected rock energy, we can ground ourselves even more. As a way of caring for our energy, as a way of creating stability and strength, as a way of maintaining grounded and connected energy. And as we close, let's take the next minute or so to open our rock eyes while still maintaining our physical eyes closed, and look out upon your beautiful place, wherever you are. What is here in this beautiful place that nourishes you? That makes your rock heart smile? That brings in a sense of beauty, awe, how does it feel so wholesome to be here? And embodying this energy that's being inspired with your beautiful view. And bringing that into your rock body. As you go through your busy days ahead, knowing that you can come back to this place, come back to this feeling sense anytime, simply by closing your eyes and reimagining yourself as a gentle rock in your beautiful place. And whenever it feels right, you can begin to open your eyes if they're closed. Thank you for your presence. I love all those rocks out there.
Thank you for that, Shanti. You know, that was really resonant for me with another meditation that I'm sure you're aware of and that folks watching might be aware of, which is John Kabat-Zinn's mountain meditation, which has a similar vibe of, placing yourself in that position of calm solidity. And I thought that was had a nice it's like a whole other genre of meditation, which I'm personally not that familiar with, but it kind of opens my mind up to a new wavelength that I might not normally be on. So thank you for that.
Yeah, I think for me, anytime that you can bring in nature is just so nourishing. You can also do flower meditation. That's another beautiful one I love, or tree meditation.
And I'm also aware from my own experience through the teacher Lee Brasington, who does a particular kind of loving kindness or compassion meditation that has that visualization aspect as well, where you are imagining, your heart center as, for example, a bowl of soup that you're scooping out for people in your life. And it's again, it kind of for those of us who might not participate in that kind of meditation, typically it opens up a new avenue. Keeps me on my meditator's toes a little bit. But so for the folks watching, I do want to make sure everyone feels properly encouraged to ask Shanti any questions you might have for her using the chat box. And while you think and type, let me get us going by asking Shanti one or two questions of my own. So Shanti, as I was preparing this morning for our talk, I was thinking back to the last time we spoke, which is really stuck in my memory for the following reason, because I remember feeling out of sorts that morning. I think like I hadn't slept very well or something. And I remember you saying that you were also feeling a little bit out of tune with yourself. And that had made me start to sweat a little bit because I was like, oh, how is this going to go? But then your presence and your guidance and your sense of engagement and your professionalism made it so that we had a really marvelous conversation. And I've been really grateful for that and looking forward to this next one. And I'd gone back to look at the date of that session because it felt like just a couple weeks ago or something. And it was 2 months ago that we last did this. And
it was fun.
I know, right? And so I had to ask, I want to ask you, what have these last 2 months been like? I mean, that's a good piece of time. A lot is happening in the world. What's been challenging or less challenging for you? And has mindfulness been able to help you in those more challenging moments?
Yeah, mindfulness has definitely been that key that has helped me to maintain my solidity and strength. Definitely, getting wobbly during certain times, but I think, my practice has been to be much more diligent about self-care than ever before. One, because I've been busier with work, but two, really the conditions that we're experiencing right now in so many different ways, they are feeling really challenging. So sticking with my meditation practice for sure, actually doubling up on that. And then, as I mentioned before, actively and purposefully taking breaks through the day. So I can pause, I can slow down, I can refresh my energy, and I can really get back to what's important now. The other thing that I've been doing, and I really suggest for people, get off social media and news as much as you can, right? That can be really triggering. I'm kind of in and out. I have a few groups, women's groups, etc. Really try to be inspiring, and that's important. And then on the weekend, I'm completely unplugged. If you need to text me, that's fine, but I don't open my laptop. I'm really completely unplugged and getting outside in nature and doing things that are nourishing my energy. I think that's been that purposefulness about that self-care, because if we're waiting for it to happen, for that time to show up, we know where that leads. Nowhere good. That leads to me writing my book about burnout, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just, so I think it's really needing to be intentional about that self-care. And it doesn't have to be so grand. It literally can be 2 minutes, 5 times a day.
Yeah, and I love hearing you point out that, it is something that we have to bring some intentionality to, and it's okay that maybe it doesn't feel natural to bring that self-care. And it's also okay then to sort of schedule it in and kind of, make it the thing that you have to do, because I think then it will ultimately you will reap the rewards of that.
One of the things, I'm just going to share it real quickly. One of the things that I find, since most of us are still working at home and are probably going to be doing that for quite a while, what are we doing with our commute time, right? So before, we may have had a half an hour or an hour in the morning, and in the afternoon, driving or taking the tea or whatever it is. And now let's fill that in with us or with family or a combination of those, instead of saying, hey, I have an extra hour that I can work and deplete my energy. Let's use that to revitalize ourselves so that when we do come to our work, we are more energized. We are more present to what we want.
Well, so Shanti, you'd mentioned your book, and I wanted to not talk about it. And so the book is called Everyday Ease. Yep, there we go. Excellent. Mindfully moving from burnout to balance. And so just a couple, basic questions about this. I mean, I'd love to just hear you talk a bit about what you cover in the book, but also, how it came about. What motivated you to start working on something like that in the first place?
I think, so I experienced, and I know we don't have a lot of time, I experienced burnout from my last position, and I was going through a challenging time in my life, and I needed to recapture that energy and really put it into something that would be supportive with a lot of my clients. They're corporate clients. They're working that 50, 60, 70 hours a week. They're having a really difficult time trying to find that self-care time. And, things are just falling apart. And I was that person before. So it's so important for me to have impact and to support people, to know that we don't need to live the way that we're living, feeling this constant sense of challenge, or I'm not good enough, or, waiting until I retire or what have you to really have a life. We can have a life right now, but we've got to restructure it a little. So, and it doesn't take that much really to do that, the little tiny things that we add in. So the book is sharing about that. And it also contains a 6-week practice program where we start infusing mindfulness into our everyday, just even if it's with one thing. And the act of that one small thing is going to then blossom into being more insightful and recognizing those times that our energy is really being depleted and those things that are nurturing us. And all of that's going to help us start to make those decisions about, hey, what's important for me? I want to show up for my life the best way that I can, the way that I want. But if my energy is depleted and I'm just living up here all the time, it's not going to be possible. So it's kind of like a journal of reality check of what's important for you and why. And that's really, I start the book off with, why do you want to have this more empowered life?
That's great. Yeah, so I would love to talk with you more about this, Shanti. I think next time we have you on, I'd just like to maybe even dig a little bit more into the details. So I know we are running short on time, but somebody did ask here in the chat box about how you got started in mindfulness meditation. I'm not sure if there's like a 30-second clip version of that you could share. It's a big question, but.
You know what? All of my evolutions seem to be at this crux of deep pain and challenge. And that's when I started my practice with mindfulness meditation and yoga, when I felt like I was going through HE double toothpicks.
And I presume that it did in fact help stabilize.
Completely. It was, it saved me. It completely saved me. My practices have saved me countless times. Yeah.
Well, I mean, so I think that's a great place to say that, we'll continue the conversation next time you're back with us, Shanti. In the meantime, we'll be back with you every Tuesday and Friday at 8:30 a.m. Eastern. You can find the links to these sessions and other resources at our main site at harvardpilgrim.org/mindfulness. Have any questions for our experts that we didn't get to, please send them to askmtm@harvardpilgrim.org and we'll get them answered. Or feel free to leave me a voicemail at 617-509-7047. You can check out what we've been up to lately on our Facebook page. It's facebook.com/mindthemoment. And you can rewatch this session and older sessions and introductory sessions on our YouTube page, youtube.com/mindthemoment. And finally, I just want to take a moment to honor the passing of John Lewis, who died over the weekend. I really love this picture of Lewis with President Obama for the sense of love and respect and humility and strength, which is radiating from their embrace. Lewis was a freedom writer, co-founder of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, or SNCC, a co-organizer of the 1963 March on Washington, recipient of the Presidential Medal of Freedom, and a representative of the people of Georgia in Congress for over 30 years. In his 2017 memoir, Across That Bridge, A Vision for Change and the Future of America, Lewis wrote the following, quote, "Freedom is not a state, it is an act. It is not some enchanted garden perched high on a distant plateau where we can finally sit down and rest. Freedom is the continuous action we all must take, and each generation must do its part to create an even more fair, more just society," end quote. As we go forward today, we can recall as well that mindfulness is not so much a state of mind as a quality of mind that we act through, and which better enables us to recognize how we too might be agents of action for freedom. Shanti, I'd like to thank you for bringing us your guidance and your practice this morning. I usually ask folks to leave us with a resource, but I'm going to do that for you and say that the resource that folks should check out is Everyday Ease. We'll post something about that to our Facebook page as well, to make it easy for folks to find it. Thank you, Shanti, for everything this morning. Really enjoyed talking to you.
Thanks so much, Sean. Thanks, everyone.
And we will see you all soon. Have a momentous day, folks.